what you're asked to find out here is the correct function for the graph. Pick the first function, which is x squared plus 3. Okay, y equals x squared plus 3. So what you want to find out here is the corresponding values of y when x equal to any value. So I just picked 0 and 2 and negative 2. Okay, so when x equal to 0, the value of I is 0 squared plus 3 is 3. And if you go back to the graph, you will find out that when x equal to 0, the value of y is 3. Then you move on to the next value of x. So I picked 2 as the next value. So when x equal to 2, the value of y is 2 squared plus 3 is 7. And if you go back to the graph and look at the point where x equal to 2, you will know that the value of y is not 7. So this is not the answer. A is not the answer. So now pick the next function, which is y equal to x squared, and calculate the values of y for each values of x. So when x equal to 0, y value is 0 because 0 square is 0. Now if you go back to the graph, and you will find out that when x equal to 0, y is not 0, right? Y is actually 3. So you know that B is not the answer. Okay, so now move on to the next function, which is function 3. So same thing here. Function 3 is y equal to x plus 3, right? So when x equal to 0, y is negative 0 plus 3, which is 3, right? So that's, if you go back to the graph, you will find out that when x equal to 0, y is in fact 3. Then you move on to the next step. Okay, so now you assume the value of x is 2. Then when x equal to 2, you do the math by yourself. You will get y is 1. Y equals 1. So and you go back to the graph, and in fact, when x equal to 2, y is 1 in the graph, right? So then you move on to the next step, which is assuming y is negative 2. So when y is negative 2, the value of x is in fact, so when x equal to negative 2, the value of y is in fact 7. And go back to the graph and find out if that's correct. And you will find out that it's not correct. Okay, so now you can, you know that C is not the answer. Now move on to the next one. Okay, so now you look at the fourth function, which is y equals negative x squared plus 3. So be very careful when you evaluate this. Okay, so assume first x equals 0. That's simple. When x equals 0, y equals 3. Okay, when x equals 2, pay attention that this square is for x. Okay, so this is how you evaluate it. So you evaluate 2 square first, and then you put a negative sign. So the answer would be 2 square is 4, and then you put a negative sign. That would be what? Negative 4 plus 3, right? Negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. Okay, and go back to the graph and check, verify this is correct, and you would find out that this is correct. Move on to the next point, which is x equals negative 2. So when x equals negative 2, y is again negative, and then in parentheses you have 2 square. That's not negative 2 square. Negative 2 square is 4. So 4, and then you have a negative for the 4. So that would be again the same as this, negative 4 plus 3, right? So negative 4 plus 3 is what? It's negative 1. So when you go back to the graph, you will find out that when the value of x is negative 2, the value of y is in fact 1. So the answer is D.